gentlemen, to another installment of What's in the Box. Tonight, we're checking out this month's offering from Comic Bento, and before I start, I noticed that the box was horrendously damaged as it was coming when it came in. It had this massive fuck-off hole. Now, it's been raining the last few days, so this is actually a time when I was happy that the books inside came bagged. Also, when I cut open the bag, because I want to speed up the process for these, so had to, without looking at the books, I had to cut open the bag and take everything out and then put it all right back in the box. The bag, I actually have it right here still. It was vacuum sealed, which is a little bit different. So when I first cut into it, I heard this loud as I was opening. It was really cool. I actually kind of wish I had the camera on for that. Anyway, the theme for this month was red and blue, which tells me there's probably going to be like a Superman thing, or maybe a SpiderMan book. I have no idea. Guys, you know, honestly, every single time I think about these themes, I never know what the fuck is going to happen in them. So, why don't we take a look inside the box? Let's see what we got this month. Alright, we're kicking things off with our first book. Let's see what it is. It is Grimm Fairy Tales presents Code Red, Age of Darkness. What is this, like a dark, edgy version of, like, Little Red fucking Riding Hood? For the past several months, Brittany Waters has been operating under the codename Agent Red for a secret government agency called HiboCorp, or HiboCorp, not sure which way that one goes. The agency recruits those with very unique skill sets who can help protect Earth from dangerous supernatural threats both in and out of the public eye. As part of HiboCorp's specialized Realm Knights team, Agent Red helped protect the world many times. But with the return of one of its most powerful rulers, the Dark Horde has begun to rise again with a renewed determination, and Agent Red is about to face off against an evil more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. And this is from Zenescope, and it apparently is part of the Grimm universe, if the logo is on the back of the book or anything to go by. So, well, I can say that the art looks alright. I have no clue what the hell to even think of this, guys. I kind of assumed it was like a Little Red Riding Hood thing, because, well, she does have a hood, and it is from Grimm Fairy Tales, but honestly, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm not seeing, like, oh, wait, yeah, there is totally, like, a wolf-ish creature in there. Oh, boy. I don't know what to think of this. This actually might be pretty decent. I don't know. I'm going to have to give it a read at some point and find out. This actually might be kind of sort of decent, guys. Alright, why don't we check out what the next book is. It is Fathom Blue. Probably wondering why I gave that little sigh. I've tried to read Fathom comics before, and perhaps maybe it's just me. I'm not really into the Fathom character or any characters associated with, you know, Fathom. It might actually be a decent book. I don't know. Oh, and this is a Comic Bento exclusive. Exclusive, the complete first volume of Fathom Blue. Yeah, well, that's real nice and all, Bento, but odds are I'm not going to read this. I really just have zero interest in reading this because I'm so disinterested in, you know, the title itself. But hey, who knows? Maybe at some point I will give this a read, but I kind of have my doubts. Alright, well, that second book was a little bit of a letdown. That, though, was more because of a personal bias than anything else. Wow, this third one's kind of thick. What have we got here? The Legend of Red Sonja. This might actually be pretty good, especially since it's from Dynamite. Wow, there's actually damage on the spine. These things are supposed to come in new, right? Like, why the hell then are there, like, scrape marks on the spine of this book? I'm not going... Wow, there's even, like, peeling up in the corner. I'm not going to let that, you know, bother me here. So, this is a collected, or rather, this is like a collection of Red fucking Sonja stories. That is always cool, because the character has always been really, really fascinating. I've noticed that they have been very literal on the theme of red and blue. What the hell? Wow, that was like a strip of paper or something on the back cover. God damn, I am finding problems with the outside of this more than I am the content. Content of this is probably going to be really good, just simply because I really like the character. This sucker is probably going to be a fun read. I cannot wait to crack into it. Okay, I think it's time for us to reach in here and feels like this is the final book. Why don't we see what this is? It is SpiderMan Blow from Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. A little bit of a story about this one, because I honestly was not expecting this one, in all seriousness. This here was part of a run of books that Jeff Loeb was publishing for Marvel, where it was basically superhero name color. I know there was like, I think it was Hulk fucking gray, Captain America red. Basically, this year was written when Jeff Loeb was having his little mental fucking breakdown because of his son's death. So every one of these books revolves essentially around death and misery coming to the characters. I think this one might be, does he fucking retell the Gwen fucking Stacy death with this one? I think he does. I believe this one is trying to, or it makes some effort to try to essentially retell either the Gwen fucking Stacy death or Uncle Ben's death. There is going to be some kind of a traumatizing death here because that was how Jeff Loeb coped. It was a little bit odd. I have never had a chance to read any of these though, and I've always wanted to give one of Jeff Loeb's color books a shot. Granted, I would probably have gone for Captain America over Spider-Man, but frankly, I will totally take Spider-Man over the fucking Hulk, because Hulk is a dull, boring fucking character. So this one here I'm probably going to wind up reading. I certainly hope that it's decent. Well, guys, this month has been, well, it feels kind of slim because, well, none of these books are you know, particularly thick once you actually get to look at them. I can totally say that out of all of them, I have a feeling I'm going to read at least 3 of them. That leaves Fathom fucking Blue to sort of sit and rot somewhere. Maybe I'll take this thing into my local like comic shop, see if I can get some like credit for it, and then I'll buy something that might actually be decent. I really, guys, I'm that disinterested in Fathom as a property. That's just me. So what are the cover prices on the rest of these? $20? $16? Well, I've guaranteed, yeah, $20 again. So yeah, I spent $25. I got well over $50 in books I'm actually going to read, and one that I probably wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. So this actually has turned out to be a rather decent month. I have 3 more books I can add to the ever growing pile of books I have gotten from Comic Bento I really want to read. So yeah, this month was totally worth it. Where the hell did I put the card? I want to know what next month's theme is. Had to set that off to the side so I didn't get any spoilers. They usually tell you what the next theme is. The next theme is builders who are creating new cities, worlds, and universes in comics. Okay, so the next one is builders. That's interesting. Maybe that's going to be a bunch of like reboot books and shit, which might be cool because that's building whole new universes. That's always kind of fascinating. Well, I now have something to think about until next month. I've got 3 more books I get to read, but there's still one bit of business I have to do before I end this video. So why don't we jump on that right now? Yes, guys, this has become a little bit of like a monthly thing whenever I do Comic Bento. Is I like to go through the books I've read from previous Comic Bentos, and I like to give you my thoughts on them. I've got 5 of them here. I actually rocked through these rather fast, specifically because certain ones are kind of thin. We're going to start with Thrud the Barbarian. I had no clue what the hell I was getting into on this one, and I started reading it, and the writing is sharp, it's witty, it's awesome, and apparently Thrud started off as a comic strip in a newsletter released by Games Workshop. They actually have a bunch of those early strips in the back. The early strips are the ones that actually kind of suck. And those early strips were like Thrud interacting with characters from Blood Bowl and Warhammer and other properties which are owned by Games Workshop. Once Thrud here actually was given his own comic. The whole thing is essentially a spoof on the fantasy genre, and it is hilarious. This thing was a fantastic read, and I absolutely loved it. I can totally recommend this one. Another one I can kind of sort of recommend, which really shocked me, because I didn't know what the hell I was getting into when I fucking read it. Well, I kind of knew, but I didn't know if it was going to be any good. And that was Smite, the Pantheon War. So this thing here is basically, again, really thin book that kind of sort of gives you the background on the Smite video game and why all these different gods from all of these different pantheons are fighting against each other. Thing is, though, is that I then went back and I tried to replay Smite, and the game is boring as shit. It is just a really shitty MOBA game. But this thing was written incredibly well. I would actually like to see more Smite comics. Believe it or not. I would love to see more comics involving the various pantheons in Smite long before I would ever decide to play the game again. The book here was actually really cool. I'm kind of hoping that Dark Horse has out more Smite books. I never bothered to actually look, because this was really fascinating and I was really getting into it. And then the fucking thing ends, and then I'm sitting there going, wait, no, I wanted more story. And the Smite game really doesn't give you a whole lot of story, because it's just a bunch of gods fighting against other gods. And of course, the story ends, and then it tells you to go out and play the fucking game. But the game sucks. Dark Horse, please, I'm begging you. Can you please try to get the rights to Smite, or rather get more, allowance for Smite, and publish more books. This thing was great. Now, we are going to move from two books I kind of liked to one that had a little bit of promise, but kind of fell to pieces, and that was The Unbelievable Gwenpool. When I first saw this, assumed it was like another alternate universe Gwen fucking Stacy, because they had just done that with Spider fucking Gwen shortly before the Gwenpool character came out, and I looked into it, and apparently that's somewhat true, because Gwenpool started out as a joke character on a fucking variant cover of a Deadpool comic where Spider Gwen was supposed to appear on every cover. Instead, they threw a pantsless female Deadpool in pink on that cover, and people said, oh my god, that is so cool, you totally have to make a Gwenpool comic. And it's really trying to be funny. It really is, but it kind of falls apart, because the only joke it has is that Gwen is from the real world. I mean, Gwen is from our world, the real world. She knows that she's in a comic book, and the reason why she takes on a costume and takes on a name and decides to fight crime is because if you have a name and a costume in a comic book, then you can't die because you're not a fucking extra. Which tells me that Gwenpool doesn't know dick about comics, because named characters die a hell of a lot faster than just randos do in fucking comic books. The jokes are rather thin. The characters picked are almost all like D-list characters, which makes it a little bit, well, correction, D-list, and then we have characters like fucking like MODOK, and MODOK unfortunately is not as interesting here as he has been in other books. This thing here is kind of sort of a miss. I probably would not be able to recommend it unless you're really into those sorts of books. If you really think that Deadpool is like the greatest thing in the history of comic books, and you want something that's kind of sort of like a watered down shitty version of Deadpool, then by all means Gwenpool is totally the book for you. One that I wasn't sure on, and I kind of had to force myself to read this one at first, was Death Sentence. The plot to Death Sentence is kind of a weird one, because the plot is that there's a new STD out there, which is called G+, which gives you superpowers and then kills you after 6 months. And they really don't do anything with it until about the halfway point, when a stand-up comedian walks into Buckingham Palace, uses his new Jedi psychic powers to explode the heads of the entire royal family, and then he installs himself as king. Then the other two characters we follow are then forced to go out and kill him. which, again, it was kind of sort of a waste. What honestly is kind of weird, though, guys, is even though the story itself is kind of sort of, dumb, I couldn't stop reading it. I actually was getting more and more fascinated with all the different characters and all the settings, and it was really a fascinating read. And if you can find this thing cheap, because the book is like $17, I just had to look at the cover price there. It's normally $17. I would not at all recommend it at $17, but if you can find it on like Amazon for like $10 or something, pick it up. And if you can find it for even less, fucking jump on it, because this thing is actually pretty good. It's fascinating. It's interesting. I actually kind of liked it. And we're gonna close out this. Fucking roundup with a book I just finished reading today, and that is Alice Cooper, Volume 1. Welcome to My Nightmare. Now, I was curious about this one going in because I am a big fan of Alice Cooper. And this book does really fascinating things with Alice Cooper as a character. They turn him into essentially a supernatural being who is the lord of the nightmare realm, who was forced to sign a contract with a midget demon, forcing him to be the pyrotechnics guy for a pop band. It was a very weird start. And then some kid is then given an Alice Cooper record, and there's a warning on the back that if you play it backwards, then it summons Alice Cooper to you, and then he has to do your bidding. It's a very weird start. And if you can get past the first, issue and a half of goofy, stupid bullshit, you actually then you are then treated to a fantastic story beyond that. It's literally the first issue to issue and a half is just really dumb, really stupid, really lame shit. And then it kicks off and it gets really good, and then it closes. The actual back of the book is actually a reprint of a Marvel Comics special about Alice Cooper, which is based entirely on Alice Cooper's From the fucking Inside album, which was really good. If I had any complaints about this book, it honestly is that the binding on this thing is fucking cheap as shit. But oh well. That guy's gonna do it for all of these. Most of these were really good. Gwenpool was a little bit of a letdown, but oh well, there's still 4 really good books here. And I'm totally excited about getting into next month's books. All of those seem really freaking awesome. This, guys, has been a fantastic month from Comic Bento. I cannot wait to see next month because I'm really curious about that theme. And with that, we come to the close of another installment of What's in the Box. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.